You watched The Mandalorian, you saw the thing in the tube, you're not sure what's going on, neither are we. Let's talk about it. So, this week's episode of The Mandalorian, Chapter 12, The Siege, just released on Disney Plus earlier today. There's a lot of crazy stuff that's happened in this episode. This whole season's felt pretty crazy with a lot of pretty crazy reveals, but there's one that's got the internet buzzing right now, which is with Mando and his friends. They're inside the Imperial base and they find this weird area of blue bacta tubes and stuff, and there's these spooky looking gray guys in there, and what's that all about? So there's a lot of theories going on around the internet today, and we just wanted to talk about why most of them are, really bad and wrong. Because they are. So the first wrong theory we're wanting to approach is talking about the theory that it is Supreme Leader Snoke, or at least a prototype of Snoke. If you look at the screenshot, you can kind of see where people are coming from, because it looks like a decrepit skeleton in there, kind of like Gwyneth Paltrow, like just unpleasant to look at. People are kind of like, well, he's creepy looking, so it's Snoke, and it played the creepy Snokey music. It's hard to tell. If you boost the brightness in the image, I've gone through it a few times, you can get some very faint facial features and things like that. I know some people are saying they can see the scar. You definitely can't. It's pretty unintelligible. And it also wouldn't make much sense for the continuity, as within the canon, in the books, and the comics, we come to know that Snoke doesn't really come around until Ben Solo grows into young adulthood and is being trained by Luke Skywalker. And at this point, if Ben's even been born, he's an infant. So, obviously it could be early prototypes of Snoke, but the odds of it being him, at least continuity-wise, are astronomically low. So it would be a really big mistake if it does end up being Supreme Leader Snoke inside the tube.
Here's another thing that doesn't make sense with the internet and what they think. Our next suspect, Palpy, and a lot of people are going along with that over the Snoke theory, and it doesn't, no, not that one either. It's kind of almost the same reason as Snoke, but a little bit different. With Palpatine, his clones were all created on Exegol, and so it doesn't make sense that the Empire would already have the clones or premature clones, I guess, of the Emperor just laying around for people to see. Because one of the biggest plot points of The Rise of Skywalker is that Palpatine's back! Oh my goodness! Wow, what a surprise! Nobody knew! Where'd he come from? Oh, wow! But that would totally not make any sense if the Empire already knew from the beginning. Yeah, we knew he was alive the whole time. Therefore, it cannot be Mr. Sheevy. It can't be.
Who's the guy in the tube? I personally think it's, that guy from Rogue One that, kneels before Vader and he's like, the guy's here. I actually personally think that this revelation given to us in The Mandalorian has absolutely nothing to do with the sequel trilogy. I think it's too early in the game to mess with that. What would make sense, based upon what we learned from Dr. Parshing's hologram speaking to Moff Gideon, is that they're obviously trying to clone Force users. So if you're wanting to make the Empire have a comeback, you're not going to do that by military might, because it wasn't military might that won the rebellion. It was having Luke Skywalker, the last of the Jedi at that point in time. And so if you want to combat the rebellion, you need to combat it with the dark side of the Force. My personal thought and personal theory, and again, this one's probably stretching it, I think they're trying to recreate Darth Vader. I think it would make sense because he was the iron fist of the Empire in its glory days, and most of the galaxy doesn't know that he was the downfall of the Empire. They don't know he was the one that killed Palpatine. So Darth Vader, as a symbol, his return would strike fear back into the galaxy. I think it would make sense that they would try and bring back, the Empire's most threatening, ominous presence of Darth Vader himself.
Just a side note, I still think that Baby Yoda might be a clone, possibly, maybe, but we'll talk about that later. Anyways, so here are my thoughts. I do have an idea as to what the overall plan, the scheme is behind these clones. I think that it wouldn't make much sense for it to be Darth Vader, because why would Moff Gideon's kind of in the top slot right now. He's running what's left of the Empire, and it doesn't make much sense to me that he would want to bring back someone to be in charge of him. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. So my thoughts are, I think Moff Gideon would like to be a Force user himself. I consider him to be a bit of a fanboy as far as the Force and the dark side goes, and that's probably part of the reason why he has the Darksaber in the first place. And I think he wants the Force, I really do. And I think that the clones could potentially be a new set of Sith that Moff Gideon will lead with the remains of the Empire to try and push out what has become the New Republic.
So, that's our thoughts. Let us know what you think in the comments below, as long as it's not Palpatine or Snoke, because it's wrong, and it's fine to be wrong.
It is.
But I don't want to hear about it.
No.
So, leave a comment below on what you think is going to happen.
Yep.
If you think maybe Vader might return, or Gideon is going to be raising a new army of Sith or Force Dark Trooper robots, we'll see. Or leave us a comment in a couple of weeks when we inevitably find out that we're both wrong and it's Snoke. But thank you so much for watching. Thank you for going with us beyond the cinema.